Sure.
So this is hard because, like in a Catholic context, you talk about like the primacy of conscience, and people cited that a lot in like the 2016 election, where like I'm going to vote for Hillary because da 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 primacy of conscience. Um, people would just throw that around, or I'm, you know, going to change the liturgy, or I'm going to, do all these different types of things. So Catholicism strikes this beautiful and perfect balance where there's like corporate responsibility, like the body of Christ, has authority and hands things down throughout time, you know? But then there's also individual responsibility. Like we have to choose, even though I'm a member of that body, I still have to choose to assent to the good and the right and the just and the true and all of those things. Welcome to The Crunch, the only podcast that brings all the boys to the yard. It's your boy Ethan.
And I'm Patrick. I like that. I'm glad that you liked my joke.
You made it, and I had to take it.
It was so good. I was
What is
thinking
this
about it.
podcast,
You know
Patrick?
what?
You gotta tell people what the
Oh,
podcast is.
this is The Crunch. We are two guys on a mission to find out if Catholics can be funny, and it's taken us 7 years. We'll get back to you.
You
We haven't
can't
figured it out yet.
institute a new opening line and then forget it 3 weeks in.
Are you kidding me? That's totally on brand for us.
That's true. Why are we such we're not failures.
No.
We are.
We're not bad at podcasting. The audience that
People
listens to us loves us.
People have called
Like
us the Lusitania of podcasts.
Yeah. Who?
When
Is that the point you were trying to make?
No, when Germany kind of was blowing up American ships, the Lusitania. Have
The
you?
Luftwaffe?
No. Have you read a book?
I have, but I haven't gotten to that part of being a dad where I read about World War II.
Oh, you probably listened to it on an audiobook and then forgot about the information because it's a fake way to read. Oh man.
Anyway, go on.
It's hard to be. Do you ever walk around and you see people with AirPods in and you're like, I bet they're listening to audiobooks. And then you're like, all those people shouldn't be allowed to vote. Do you ever think that?
You got to listen to an audiobook while you read.
Yeah.
You retain information faster.
I've heard that.
My friend, when we were in school, we were part of the Center for Leadership, and they mailed us. I know.
That sounds like a fascist group for kids.
We were in the safety committee, the public safety committee.
Right.
They mailed us 7 Habits of Highly Effective People before school started, and my friend Evan thought that I think it was Evan, thought that we had to read the book before the first day of school.
Okay.
And so he said that he sat in the back of his parents' car and listened to the audiobook while he read the book. He listened to the audiobook at 3 times speed and read it alongside so he could finish it before. I'm like, man, I bet you didn't retain anything. Just absolutely nothing.
I did that when I got hired on at Focus. We were supposed to read The God Ask by Steve Shadrach. Yeah. And there was like, you have to have all this done by the first time you touch it, all these things. And I hadn't read the book. And so I was doing the exact same thing on an 18-hour drive from Kansas to Florida, 4x speed on the Audible app, reading. And I wasn't even reading the book. I was like falling asleep to it. And I was like, yeah, it's probably good enough. And then I show up and like my teammate that year, Alexander, who I've told stories about on the podcast before, he didn't even have, like, we were supposed to have all the software downloaded. We were supposed to have all these courses done. I like asked him like, oh, do you have, TNT on your computer? And he was like, what? Like, he didn't even know what I was talking about. He did fine. It's like, I can't believe I was still a 22-year-old or 21-year-old that was still thinking like, oh, when someone says you have to do something that you actually do. It's just like, it's just so rare that that's true,
Yeah, I know.
Like you can dodge the draft. You don't have to answer emails at the date that they say. You don't have to show up to meetings. Like nobody knows this. you know?
I learned this when someone told me, "Hey, like take what the actual deadline is and subtract a couple of days." And I said, "Hey, that sounds like something that could get out of hand." Because they know that the deadline, because you take things past the deadline,
Mhm.
if they show up late, then they've learned the wrong thing, the
Mm.
wrong lesson,
Yeah, that's
that
true.
that deadlines don't matter.
Yeah.
But what can you do? We've already started it, you know?
Yeah, it's
People learn
weird
this lesson in college.
it's weird to think, like, even in the most dire of situations, deadlines, like, there is nothing that can't be done tomorrow. From like a f
Why do today
yes.
what can be done
Yeah.
tomorrow?
Ask not what you can do for your country today. Ask what you can do for your country later.
Later, some
Think
other
about it
time,
later.
on
I'm
someone
I'm
else's time.
I'm being facetious, but I'm also saying like, oh, an engineering product. We got to finish, the designs for this building, or else what? The company's gonna get billed. Lawyers are gonna argue.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna kind of still have work. You might get fired. You probably won't though. You know what I mean? Like, it just is. I don't know, man. It all
No,
feels
it's crazy
fake.
though. Some people love, and they get so like ticked about deadlines, they just get wired. Like I had a boss once who our accountant, so the company, like it's a- whatever, I've worked at three places. You can probably gather where this was.
Yeah,
But the church owned a lot of properties. And
like the Monopoly man.
yeah. So sometimes people will like just leave property to churches. And
Mhm,
so they own them like a landlord or whatever. And so we were the landlord of this property, this like
mhm.
commercial building.
This happens a
And
lot.
we had not paid the property taxes on the property because it had gone to a bunch of different, like it was a bunch it was a consolidation of churches. So the mail went to one church and it didn't, it didn't go to the main office, and so the accountant
Mhm.
missed it,
Oh,
and we got like a $200 penalty, which is like, for a church,
jump change.
it's a Tuesday, like not
Yeah,
even. That's like
yeah,
lunch for the staff,
yeah, right.
And my accountant got her ass handed to her because
Really?
she was like, "You missed the deadline," and it's like, yeah, but the deadline wasn't real. All we got was a slap on the wrist, and we got the penalty waived. So
I was listening to an old episode of the Yard podcast, and Slime was talking about he moved to LA and he like went to a laundromat or something. Or no, he was trying to like rent an apartment. And he was like trying to get this apartment instead of someone else. He had some money saved up. So he was like, hey, can I pay, 2 months in advance, all these things. And this Eastern European landlord was like, he taught him a lesson. And he said, if you can solve a problem with money, you don't have a real problem. And I thought that was pretty insightful, because it's like,
yeah,
if you can just pay to get out of it, you don't have a problem. This is why when the prophet Jay-Z said more money, more problems, I think he was lying to us. He was trying to keep us out of the game, He was trying to keep it all to himself.
if he thought more money, more problems, why did he marry Beyonce, who had more
I don't
money?
think it was Jay-Z that said more money, more problems. My knowledge of urban culture is fairly limited.
No, no, no. Jay-Z said 99 problems.
Oh, excuse me, Puff Daddy. Gosh, I hate it. There's some moments where my whiteness is revealed to me, like the
Hmm.
transfiguration. You know what I mean?
The
Like
way you said Puff Daddy was,
as no fuller on earth could
anyway.
have bleached him, you know. Does God
Something you
does
said.
God ever open the clouds and just
Yeah,
this is how we
I
know that
say this
Jesus was white. Everyone said he's black, but no, it says very clearly on the
as
transfiguration that Jesus was
he was
dazzlingly,
dazzling. He was dazzling
dazzlingly
white.
white. That's a
I
dub.
say this to
It's a dub for the boys.
I used to say this to teens all the time in graduation speeches. In my
Mhm.
time as a youth minister and beyond, I've been asked to give several baccalaureate addresses. Okay.
You have not.
I,
Like real
yes.
ones
No, seriously.
at
Yeah.
high school, like at the
Yeah, at the
function?
high school baccalaureate. Yeah, at the function.
So when you say
Me when there's speeches at the function.
it's the monkey
Go
going
on.
like this.
Yeah,
Wait, when
yeah.
you say baccalaureate,
Yeah.
just so that everyone else knows, because I don't.
Baccalaureate is the fake graduation that happens before the graduation in a church.
You're telling me the baccalaureate ain't the same as the matriculation?
What? So baccalaureate is something that just takes place in a church, and they invite all of the pastors from the area
I thought I
to
got
give a little speech.
when I graduated, I thought I got a baccalaureate.
It's a bachelor's degree.
But what does it mean? Like someone called me a baccalaureate, like, or maybe I got invited to a baccalaureate party and I didn't want to go because there were a lot of nude people.
I think that sounds like a bachelor's party.
I think I'm thinking of a bacchanal. This is a
Yeah, it
different
might be
thing.
what you're thinking of.
Bacchus.
So a baccalaureate, a baccalaureate is
I'm
just a
saying.
they invite all the pastors from the area to do it, and since the Protestant pastors really don't have much to do, they go, and the priests don't because they have like sacraments to
Right, they got
perform.
stuff to do.
They got stuff to do, and so they send me, and so I
Mm.
would give a speech to the baccalaureate, and every speech I would start with "Congratulations on getting through the easiest part of your life." All
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
adults think all the adults think that their lives are the hardest part of your life, but all adult problems can just be solved with making more money.
Yes, we've
So
talked about this, I think. Yeah.
yes, today we talked about it.
I think I've heard you tell that story before, but maybe
It bears repeating
it
because
does
just
bear
remember,
repeating.
make more money and you won't have any problems.
Baccalaureate.
Baccalaureate.
A bunch of bears gather
I
in a church to hear Patrick give a speech.
You mentioned something that I want to go back to.
I love circling back. Tell me
You
what it is that I
mentioned
said.
you mentioned that we are the podcast that brings all the boys to the yard, much like
The Lusitania, which brought all of the boys to Europe in 1939 or whatever.
So we were on the phone today,
Okay.
if you recall. And the
Okay.
reason why I said that joke to you was because of what I said on the phone. So I was on the phone, I was going to get
Oh.
lunch. I was going to Wawa. I was going to Wawa to get my favorite sandwich, an Italian sandwich with sweet peppers and
No,
pickles
you
on it. Guys,
distinctly called it a hoagie. Don't lie to them. Don't try to whitewash your
it's called a
sandwich.
hoagie. It's called a hoagie.
Yeah,
But
people.
also I discovered that the junior hoagie is the perfect size hoagie. Anything longer is just it's just gratuitous.
A
Anyway,
junior
so
Hogarth.
a junior oh, God. Anyway,
More
so
little kids need to be named Hogarth, I think.
I had a friend named his last name was Hogarth.
You got Hogarth from the Iron Giant, and he's struggling. You know, what's he up to
Mhm.
now? You got
Who knows?
Hoagie P. Gilligan from Codename Kids Next Door. But outside of those two MFers, there's no Hogarths anywhere. Like I've never met an adult named
Sorry,
Hogarth.
wait, is number two's name Hoagie?
Yeah.
Oh. Dude, you loved Codename Kids Next Door,
I
didn't
didn't
you?
love it. I just think I respected the amount of lore that went into that television program.
I started watching a YouTube video that was like, here's all the lore behind Codename Kids Next Door. And
It's
I was
extensive.
like,
It's extensive.
I watched the first 5 minutes and I was like, I'm already lost. I'm done. I
How
can't
can
do
you be
this.
lost? It's a kids show about kids
It
fighting
was
adults.
so confusing. It was so confusing.
Well,
Anyway,
the
so
delightful children from
I
down
was
the
getting
lane.
a
Anyway, no, I'm kidding.
I was getting they're a metaphor for Satan, and
Junior
I was
Hoagie.
they're the children of Satan. I was getting a Junior Hogarth from Wawa, and I was walking inside, and a woman was
No.
outside. Now it's a gas station, right? And there's like seating outside, and like there were a lot of people sitting outside, and the kind of people that are sitting outside of a gas station
Mhm.
at 1:30 in the afternoon on a
Mhm.
work day
Mhm.
don't have a lot going on, let's say, with their
Homeless.
lives. Not necessarily. Perhaps
Sometimes.
sometimes homeless. Anyway, so this woman was almost certainly either intoxicated or blasted or just like sunbaked. She was either
Into
drunk or high or just delirious because of the heat.
blasted.
And I don't know, or she was just having a really bad day and she was being kind of clumsy. Because I walk up and there's just a large strawberry milkshake half on the ground, and I
Mm,
step around it,
okay.
and she picks it up to bring it inside.
Mhm.
She's like, "Oh gosh, oh gosh, oh no, oh goodness." And she's carrying it and a bunch of other things, and I'm
Uh-huh.
on the phone with you
Yeah.
talking business,
We're
you know,
talking business. Yeah.
making deals. We're
We're
talking business.
making we're making deals.
And she drops the milkshake again inside the Wawa, and it goes all over me. And I go, I
Ah.
got milkshaked. And Ethan thinks that that means that I got flashed, which if I had gotten
You
flashed,
just
I
said it
would.
with the regretful air of a man who's just seen a pair of breasts that he didn't wanna see, you know? That's what the that's the tone that I picked up over the
No,
phone.
no, I got
'Cause
splashed with
if
milkshake.
someone splashed me with milk, I was like, "Oh, milkshake just got all over me." That's what I would say. And then if a woman, you know, flashed me, I would say, "Oh, I just got milkshaked," which is how you said it to me.
I
I'm a
think
married man. I don't wanna
no,
see anything like that.
you and I are the exact opposite. If someone flashed me, I go, ah, gosh, no, I just got flashed. Oh, it's disgusting.
You would
And if someone
scream
splashed milkshake on me, I would go, oh man, I got milkshake on me.
you would scream in the Wawa as a woman is flashing you, "Oh, I just got milkshaked." Everyone looks over at you.
Oh, disgusting.
That is disgusting. This is all
Oh
gross.
man.
This is all gross. We're 2 married men objectifying women, and we need to apologize.
I'm not objectifying anyone. I recognize that her breasts are
We
attached
we
to a person. Sorry.
we are referring to the life-giving instrument, the food production zone. There's no good way to talk about I've decided this. There's no good way to talk about the breast as a
Do you
guy.
remember? Everyone forgets this. I don't know how he made everyone forget this, but do you remember when Taylor Marshall talked about that vision he had of a woman, of the church as like a woman? He had like a really vivid. He was sitting in his office. No, he was sitting in his car with
Okay.
just. I don't have any Apple headphones, but he had wired Apple headphones and it was hanging down. And he's wearing a full suit and he's in his car and he's just
Uh-huh.
talking about a vision. You're not going to be able to find it. He
I'm looking
deleted
up
it.
Taylor Marshall boob vision just to see what
It's a He's just a vision of like a woman's breast, and
Okay, here we
all
go.
I could.
Ready? I'm gonna read it to you. I'm gonna read it
Wait,
to
you
you.
found it?
Yeah. He says something engorged was the word.
Yeah, I remember it being like really
And I
uncomfortable.
noticed
I
that
don't remember.
her breasts were engorged with milk, tons of milk, and there were babies and children crying out to her that were hungry. Taylor, and she was writhing in pain. She was in a bed. There were sheets on her, and she was very sick. Then I thought to myself, "Oh, she's poisoned. She doesn't want to nurse the children because then she'll give them the poison." And there was this voice. It was like God or an angel. I don't know. And it said, "No, the milk is still pure." And it's just like about the mother church and that there's
Yeah, it's just an
poison, but it's
analogy.
not.
It's
It's
an
an
analogy
analogy.
that he came up with and is talking about,
Yeah.
or it was a vision. I don't know.
Yeah,
Whatever.
you can see like a Vietnamese restaurant in the background. He's in like a strip mall. It's pretty funny. Oh, you
And
were
then
gonna talk. We were saying something. You were talking about Taylor Marshall. Oh, anyway, I've got it.
every time I when I saw that, the only thing I could think of was um uh nursing giant. Oh man,
What do you say?
giant
You gotta tell me.
giant
You can't
mother
stop talking
playground.
while you're telling a story.
There's this thing. I don't
Mhm.
remember where it was, but it was like a giant woman, and it was a playground, and kids could like run around on top of it, and it was big enough for a kid to go.
This is just your experience when you were 5 and
I've seen this.
a
I've
big
seen no.
a
It was
big
like a
lady knocks
giant
you
woman,
over.
and it was a giant woman,
The woman's
and
a
you could.
statue? Like, what is the woman? Explain the woman.
The woman is giant and laying down, and it's like it gives birth, and it like
This is,
you
like, at
can
the
run
playground?
around. Yeah, it was a giant giving giving birth,
Oh,
giant puppet giving birth. Ah, I found it. Uh, Melbourne's creepy giant puppets reenact childbirth. A Melbourne group created a 26.5 meter, I don't know what that means,
Uh,
monstrous puppet for a live art installation.
oh,
And that was
don't
what was
look
in
this
my
up,
head.
people. Don't
That
look
was
this
what
up.
was in my head.
Holy crap. This is disgusting.
It's really gross.
It's grotesque.
It's really gross.
It's like now having a child and seeing my wife, like nurse him and take care of him and all these things, and then seeing like all the ways that it's depicted in art as like this grotesque thing. It's like this beautiful, tender, wonderful part of life. And it's just, man, people are messed up. I think so. One person that does a good job, Owen Cyclops, who gets to the show,
Yeah.
he oftentimes will make cartoons about babies having visions of the breast, and it's very funny. Like he drew one of his son like in an anime intro where like the boob was at the top of this like pyramid and he was like going after it. It's like an anime character. It was really, and it's like, and then it goes over to the other panel. It's his wife saying like, "Why did you draw that?" She's like, "This is disgusting." I think he does a good job. Or this is one of like a baby with like a beard that's really old at daycare, and he just it's a text bubble and it just says a boob right there. It's pretty funny. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's really funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
Phoebe is thinking about going on a trip to Cove Crest. Cove Crest is having a women's retreat, and
Oh.
her new mom friend,
Mm-hmm.
they're considering going to the retreat. And she was like, I don't know, like Leo's never been without me for that long, and like he nurses, and like he might want to nurse. And I was like, Phoebe, here's my inclination. I don't think he will know what he wants unless you're right there.
Yeah.
He'll be like, "Oh man, I kind of want to nurse," and like the desire will be there. The way to fulfill that desire will not be there, and so he will simply move on to chewing his feet or something.
Yeah. Children live in a
That's
very
my
imminent reality.
yeah.
It's
They
just
don't.
whatever is here, and that's it. There's not much beyond.
That's how it worked. That's how it worked when he was young. Like when he was really still young. When he was little, still little. When he was an infant,
He's
he's still a baby. He's still when he was like 3 months old or whatever. It was he would not cry with me because
right.
I
What do
can't
you
nurse
have?
him.
Yeah.
Like, I have nothing. But then he figured out that dad gives me to mom. Dangerous. And so
Right.
then he was like, give me to mom. So I stopped doing that. I would put him on the ground and Phoebe would pick him up. I'm just kidding. All right. So
that's good. We've effectively alienated our entire female audience with this.
It's okay. We're 50-50 now, so we can afford to lose them.
Can we?
No.
I don't think.
No, guys don't tell guys about other podcasts unless it's like an entrepreneurship podcast.
Guys don't tell guys about. I tell you about podcasts that I like.
That's fair.
Twice. I've done that twice.
Twice you've done that, and I've listened to both of them.
Yeah, and you've enjoyed them. Dare I say?
Yes. Yeah.
So
I don't listen to The Yard much anymore. I just can't get into it.
Yeah, it's tough if you don't like it.
I just don't have much time for entertainment anymore.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. I guess I'm just really.
I'm too busy getting my baccalaureate degree.
I'm too busy getting my baccalaureate degree and going to get junior hoagies at Wawa.
If you want to engage in some fun, lighthearted conversation like this, make sure that you're in our Discord, bit.ly/crunch Discord. We always talk about this kind of stuff over there. I post fun memes about Joe Biden.
Oh yeah.
And about how he needs to wake up. So if you want to see what that's about, bit.ly/crunch Discord. But you were going to say something, Patrick. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to transition to a video that I saw that I wanted to talk about.
I'm ready.
Did you see the video about the kid in the school with the backpack?
Oh, I did see this. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about
this. Sounds like you were solving a clue mystery.
The kid in the school
with the
backpack killed Mr. Tudor.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't watch the whole thing. Did you watch the whole thing?
I did.
I cringed too much.
Really?
What are your thoughts on this situation? Wait, let's tell people about the situation before we
If you don't know about stuff, So this is really funny because Emma and I have been talking about uh, how she just doesn't know anything, not because she's not intelligent or she doesn't can't handle it or doesn't care, but she's just when women have children, they just kind of their whole life is really just mom
Exactly.
content and like
Yeah.
kid and like other
Yeah.
moms, and that's really it. And then so basically my job as a husband is not only to provide but to like be the great filter of like what
Uh-huh.
comes into the home and like what she gets to know about what she doesn't.
Yeah.
But like which is kind of it's kinda scary because it's like I could just forget to tell her about, like, an armed conflict, and she just wouldn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is
I, like, had
really
to I
funny.
was like I found out that there was a hurricane, and I was like, "I have to tell my
I
wife."
should tell Phoebe that a hurricane's coming. Like, if I told like, Emma would have no idea. Like, "Oh, yeah, we're supposed to have a tornado tomorrow." She'd be like, "What? I don't what do you mean we're
Um,
supposed to have a tornado tomorrow?" Anyway,
it's
so
currently saying that my CPU is maxed out. I don't quite
yeah.
know what that
Well,
means.
just to turn it down.
Oh, huh? Just download more?
Do you have any other apps open other than the ones that you're using?
I do have Fortnite playing in the background. That might be
Really?
part of it. No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
Close everything except your browser, and you'll be good to go.
Okay.
I'll tell the people what's going on. So basically, there's this kid who went to school, and he's 12, so it's like seventh, eighth grade. It's a middle school, and he has a patch on his backpack. He has multiple patches on his backpack actually, and I did see a Saint Michael the Archangel on there, so I think there is a Catholic kid, which is cool.
Sure.
But what the patch? It's the yellow flag, the Gadsden flag that people
Gadsden
say.
flag.
It's the "Don't tread on me" with the
The no
snake.
step on snake.
No step on snake. You've seen this. It's meant to be like the Revolutionary War and like all the colonies are like we're like a bunch of pieces of a snake, which is kind of foreboding imagery for what America was to become if you think about it. But
The great dragon.
yeah, the great dragon that consumes, the world-ending fire. Anyway, so he had the patch and he got told to remove the patch because it was making some kids uncomfortable because of its racist connotations.
Which
And
is
yeah, dubious at best.
yeah,
Uh,
it's
and he's like, "No, I'm not gonna remove the patch." And then his parents were called into a meeting with the principal, and the principal was just like your average, what you'd expect, like a public government employed bureaucrat to be like. And the kid was very smug and was like, "I know more history than you." And the parents like recorded the meeting, and it just kind of went made the rounds, and now everyone's like, "Oh, we support the kid, like take down the school, like don't kick him out of school," because they were trying to suspend him for not wearing. But he was like, there's rainbow flags, and so why can they do the rainbow flags, but I can't do the. Anyway, it was one of those. So it was cool. It was interesting to see a kid like stand up to the principal. It's
yeah,
always fun
that
to see people be wrong that I disagree with. But other than that, it was just
yeah,
like so that's what happened.
just another thing. Just
Yeah.
another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked the whole it was nice. It made my monkey brain feel good. It's cut
Mhm.
and dry. It's like very
Yeah.
obviously this kid is in the right.
Mhm.
It's if it was a Confederate flag, it would have been like understood. You, you know, it's like I can understand why the teacher would be like, "Oh, sorry, that flag is against policy." But the fact that it's just the Gadsden flag, that's just a kind of a libertarian coded thing.
Yeah.
Just he's right. Why, if you can have one flag, why can't you have another? And the answer to that question, because they're not going to be like, oh yeah, good point. The answer to that question is that one flag is orthodox and the other one is not.
Mhm.
That's really the answer. But what I wanted to talk about in not exactly the situation, but the line that I watched up to was first of all, the principal was very funny because she was trying to like get on the parent's side and it was clear that the parent wasn't going for it.
Mhm.
And she said the Gadsden flag. And the principal was like, whatever it is, the don't tread on me flag. Yeah, that's the Gadsden flag. Okay, whatever it means. And it's very funny that she didn't understand that, didn't know what the flag was. Oh, it's
Mhm.
racist. No, it isn't. It's the revolutionary flag they flew. Oh, I didn't know that. And then she deflected to I'm just enforcing a
A
policy.
policy. It's always a policy.
So that's what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about policy.
Oh,
You
wow.
don't want to talk about policy?
No, it's just I can feel my blood boiling.
you're getting upset.
No, I just hate policies generally.
Yeah,
You know? What do you what are
I
your
think
thoughts? Tell me what
that
you want because I'll provide the juice for you.
a lot of my issues in the world
Mhm.
come from
Policies.
I'm just
I'm
yeah,
just
if the joke about the Nazis is they were just following orders, the
right.
joke about America will be they were just
Just
enforcing
just
policy.
enforcing the policy.
It's the policy. It's the out of not outside of the planet. That hideous strength when they're
Uh-huh.
talking about the when they're talking about like the world ending bureaucratic system, the
Mhm.
world ending organization. The guy who's talking about it is like, it's so great. Like there's 40 committees sitting all at once and they add the policy they create as they create it, it gets updated. I told you about this.
Mhm.
And it's so funny that C.S. Lewis saw that coming. 'Cause it's definitely what it's become. It's just policy and lawyers and committees deciding things that have no like they don't live in a real world, you know? They
Yes.
don't live in reality. It's there's no like a principal can't see and it can't see like this kid is he's obviously pilled, right? This kid
Mhm.
has found a belief system of in being contrarian. So first of all, just don't push him and he won't do anything because
Right.
that's what he needs is you to be an authority figure. It's the don't tread on me flag. Are you kidding me? You're gonna tread on the kid with the don't tread on me flag. Get out of here.
Right. Come on. What do you think he's gonna do?
What do you think he's gonna do? He's gonna love it. Obviously this kid is already ostracized, right? Like
Right. There were tweets that came
very
out
clearly.
later that he's eating lunch by himself and
Yeah,
stuff like
and it's
that.
like just let him be. You know, let him feel like he's right. Just let him go about his day. Is anyone being harmed by this patch? No.
Mhm.
Oh, it's policy. That's fine. You don't have to enforce every policy. In fact, you could make decisions. And it's like we've talked about this before about I just don't understand. People think that the virtuous thing to do is to behave like the computer and
Mm.
enforce the policy as it is written and the letter of the law, right? And
Yeah.
we don't have enough wisdom to apply the law in the correct way at the correct time. We fall back on this is what I'm supposed to do, and
Mhm.
so I'm just going to do it because it gives us a kind of it gives us an out when we're wrong
Mhm.
because we don't have to face the fact that we're responsible for our actions. If
Mhm.
we're wrong, we can say I'm just enforcing the policy.
Mhm.
That's all I'm doing. I'm enforcing the
Mhm.
policy.
Hmm. This is great. I have a lot of thoughts on this.
I'm excited. I'm
Like
happy.
I'm trying to
I
like
didn't just want
pull
to talk about the controversial kid
no, because I
because
don't really care about the kid. Um,
a conservative dressed up kid with
yeah, with a
Gadsden
backpack
flag
that's way too big
backpack.
for his body. Like, get that kid a smaller
Yeah,
backpack, please.
dime a dozen, dime a dozen. All right.
Everyone wants to be Ben Shapiro these days. Um, I think so. There's a weird. It's the struggle of what the individual's responsibility is.
Sure.
So this is hard because, like in a Catholic context, you talk about like the primacy of conscience, and people cited that a lot in like the 2016 election, where like I'm going to vote for Hillary because da 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 primacy of conscience. Um, people would just throw that around, or I'm, you know, going to change the liturgy, or I'm going to, do all these different types of things. So Catholicism strikes this beautiful and perfect balance where there's like corporate responsibility, like the body of Christ, has authority and hands things down throughout time, you
Yeah.
know? But then there's also individual responsibility. Like we have to choose, even though I'm a member of that body, I still have to choose to assent to the good and the right and the just and the true and all of those things. So that's on the one side. On the other side, you have the I don't know, the defining mainstream secular orthodoxy, which is whatever the policy that is made by the powers that be, that's it. Like there is not
Yeah.
like the authority is not
Well,
organic
because
in the same
we've all
way.
democratically assented to them, you know.
Right.
Yeah, this is the will of the people, it's the people versus
But
the
it's
criminal,
not. It's not the
it's
will of the
yeah,
people at
no.
all. I really don't know who the will, because there's this nebulous thing. Like we all kind of know what we're talking about, where it's like these policies at schools, or like the things at the DMV, or the tax code, or um, zoning laws. Like all of these things are just kind of enshrined in like the fabric of what we do, and no one voted on them. Like no one voted on the school policy that said that, you can't have patches on your backpack, you know? So like this
Well, it was
idea.
open to a vote, but it was at a school board meeting that was closed because of COVID.
Right.
No
So
one
it
was virtual meeting, so they couldn't vote.
but it's so this is like the left's great weakness, is that nobody has any individual autonomy to step outside of the orthodoxy, um, which is bad, right? But then but it's also a great strength because it keeps everyone in line, right? It like is, if you do step out, you're ostracized, you're done. Like you can't be a
This
part of
is
it
not
anymore.
this is not, this is not new either.
No.
The stringent orthodoxy, people on the right act like this is, new, but it's
Hmm.
not. The
No.
stringent orthodoxy of revolutionaries is well documented. Um, that's in the
Yeah.
French Revolution, they chopped off people's heads for being counter-revolutionary. In the Bolshevik Revolution, they did the same
Hmm.
thing. It's a stringent orthodoxy because there's this push of, in order to upset the old order, we all have to work in lockstep. We all have to be on the same page. And so if you're not with us, you're against us,
Hmm.
which is the opposite of what Jesus said.
Right.
Jesus said, if they're not with me, they're against me. If they're not against you, they're for you. So
Yes,
it is anti-Christian in that regard.
it is. And it's hard for, like, I'm trying to pull these.
It's the problem that progressivism always has.
Yes, I'm trying to pull these threads together. I think you said it really well, but I'm thinking about someone like St. Louis Martin, who, even within the context of Catholicism, he like at mass, he would go to mass, and like an altar boy would not ring the bells when he was supposed to. And Louis would go up and ring them for
Mhm.
him, in the middle of mass. And so it's like there's still room for this sort of like, it's not that he was dissenting or anything, but like the saints would frequently
Yeah.
like break outside of the norms, if that makes sense. Like Catherine of Siena telling the Pope what to do, you know, uh,
Yeah.
like Jesus doing everything that he did, right? He's the penultimate example, but then all the saints follow in his footsteps. And so,
They would break a norm to they would break a rule
mhm,
to
save a soul.
enforce a greater one.
Right.
They would break a rule to enforce a greater one. Like Louis de Montfort breaking out of get like running like breaking the rule of sit where you're supposed to
Hmm.
ring the bell, like the liturgical rule is there to honor Christ, which is higher than the social rule of don't run up and ring the bells for the altar
Right. When
server.
you're
You
meant to be
know?
part of the congregation, you're not part of you're not up on this.
You're not a
This.
part of the celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Like and then, breaking the Catherine of Siena, breaking the rule of don't tell the Pope what to do for
Hmm.
the sake of, reunifying the church and saying, go back to Rome, stop living in France, you silly goose.
Yeah.
And then the opposite of what the policy is like breaking the rule of caring for this child,
Hmm.
like the common good or the
Right.
higher
They
good
break the
of
greater
I'll
good
say
for the
higher, not
lower
greater.
good.
Yeah, exactly. And that it's an inverted hierarchy. Like the policy is a lower good. This policy that
Hmm.
was created by someone who's not there, who is just saying, flags that are hate speech
Hmm.
are banned
Hmm.
or whatever the policy is.
Yeah.
And
And then you think about the way that
what
it gets
world we live in.
distorted
It's
with
so
like
weird.
the riots in 2020. It gets distorted because there is there's like a valid, outcry of like, okay, this guy was killed. Maybe he shouldn't have been killed in the way that he was, right? George Floyd. But then,
Mhm.
the response was, well, we're gonna smash up buildings and steal things and light things on fire and take over parts of downtown Seattle for some reason. And it was a like there was a disproportionate response to that one thing in the name of not that that stuff is like policy, but at this point it kind of is, like it's kind of known.
Well, it is policy.
It is policy
There
to
are
like
people who are getting fired for intervening in shoplifting.
right,
It is policy now.
right.
Yeah,
So
your policies.
and the reason I say all this is it's kind of long-winded. I apologize, but on the right, at least on the like American conservative right, the people who and the right is really just anybody who opposes this orthodoxy that exists. It's not really like you like Trump or you don't like Trump or you're economically this way or not this way. It's like if you oppose the dominant orthodoxy that we all know exists, then you're kind of on the right.
Yeah.
But the problem with the right is that they're so opposed to the left-wing orthodoxy that there is no organization. There is no defining thing to adhere to.
Yeah.
And this is like, I think a symptom of like the Protestant heresy, which is like everyone is just so, scattered and like doing their own thing. Catholicism is unified. And so it like ought to be this framework by which we move towards the good, both publicly and privately, right? That's the beauty about the Catholic Church is that it's, if you really believe in it, it'll be good for society and it'll be good for the domestic family, and it's good for the interior. It's like all the levels. But like modern right-wing opposition to orthodoxy is just like, yeah, we're not that. Oh, yeah. And there's no organization at all.
It's defined in opposition.
Yeah. Right. Which is why, like, I saw a tweet the other day that was like, what happens if Trump gets put in jail in the middle of the election? Just like unfairly. Like, what if the left just puts him in jail, like locks him up? There would probably be like a January 6th-esque riot, but there's no organization.
Nothing
there's no
would
like
happen. Nothing
right
would happen,
because because the left has monopolized this idea of like policy and rigidity and like all of these things. And so people think that in order to not be that, they have to not take any elements of that. And
there's a very clear orthodoxy in the DNC that does not exist in the RNC.
Yeah.
Partially because of the Trump upset. Like people like I blinked and all of a sudden Chris Christie was anti-Trump again. I was like,
yeah, I know. Whack.
Didn't see that coming. Whatever. Yeah. And I thought he was like his best buddy, before. And then after he was anyway. But there's no organization there. And I think that's just a symptom of conservatism. It's just in this frame. And this is Andrew Jones's whole thing, where if the church play, because in the script of liberalism, in the script of modernism, take a drink. Progressivism always wins and conservatism always loses. Like you've seen that tweet that's like, just so you know that in all of history, the conservatives are never the good guys. And I was like, damn, you missed the day one of history class where they say history is written by the victors. Yeah. Holy cow. That's like the main thing about history. That's the one thing everybody learns in history class. Like, history is written by the victors. And then we read a history book that's published in the New York Times bestseller. Wow, interesting. This book is written by the oppressed.
I guess everyone that's dead was wrong.
Anyway, in this dichotomy, the conservative branch always loses and the progressive branch always wins. That's just the script. And so that's Andrew Jones's whole thing is like, if the church plays the conservative role, it's always going to lose. It's going to lose to society. If it plays the progressive role, it's going to lose itself. So it cannot exist in this paradigm. And that's just, I see people on the internet, I see people in real life even trying to dichotomize and put people in these boxes and put themselves on these sides because they want to go progressive because they feel like that makes them win. They want to go conservative because they feel like they get to counter revolutionize. They get to go against the grain and both of them get to feel like they're going against the grain. They get to scratch that itch. Where in reality, they're both losing because one is losing the scripted play that's happening. They don't realize it. And the other one is losing their souls. And so you got to just be outside. You got to get outside of it and just be based. And
we really are the don't tread on me snake. you know?
We are don't tread on me, please.
Don't tread, but, like, that kid, he's like he was asking for it, in a way. Like, he was just waiting for the day. Like, you can't be like, if you're paying attention in the way that I know this kid is, he knows how the school is run. He knows who's gonna get defended and who's not, by, like, the
Yes.
institution of the school. He's aware that he is on the quote, unquote, "losing side." He wears the patch anyway. Why? Because you there's a certain martyrdom effect that happens where it's like you get elevated by getting crushed.
Yep.
The exact same thing happens, perceived or real, on the left. It's this idea of like we've been oppressed and like all these things, and people are being racist to me, they're being ableist to me, they're being transphobic to me. How reinvent
Mhm.
the wheel as many times as you want, but that's the fundamental thing that both the left and the right do.
Yeah.
This is so perfect, right? Because Christ cuts through all this with the cross, And it's like, I just wish, I don't know. There's a way to go about all of this. There's a way to navigate all of this without constantly being like a victim, you know, because it's just, and that sounds like boomer, but
The issue with it's like the issue with this kind of martyrdom is that you get to keep your life.
hmm
You know, it's
yeah,
it's not it's not truly martyrdom
yeah,
because in martyrdom you have to die. It's some like parody of martyrdom where
hmm
you get to live the humiliation, but through the humiliation you get like an elevated social status.
yeah,
The conservatives do this by letting themselves get attacked by the libs, and liberals do this by going through the humiliation ritual and coming out of it. Um,
yeah.
and
That's
it's
dude.
and
It's
it's
so
like
weird. It's
just
the
I've
best
I've I've
thing.
examined myself and I've learned and I'm growing.
hmm The best thing that we
But
can
but but
do,
martyrdom, you actually need to give it all. You can't
right?
give part, and if you have anything at the end, you haven't actually died to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to give everything.
The
Yeah.
it's so insane because it's always the third way. It's always this like weird dumb way that like nobody wants to go down. That's the correct
Yeah.
way. And it's so obvious. I hate talking about this because it feels so obvious when I say it out loud. But all this stuff about policy and about orthodoxy and this and the other thing. At the end of the day, this kid got what was coming to him. Teacher was wrong. Kid was probably right, but like the kid's not even right at the end. Like we should defend the kid, but we should also pull him aside and be like, "Hey, you realize that like politics won't save you? Do you realize that like just because you are 5 feet tall right now, that you're not Ben Shapiro? You know, like there's
Even though you're the same height.
even though you're the same height as Ben, you can't do it. Just because you have a giant,
Can't do it.
huge backpack on your back doesn't mean that you're Steven Crowder or whatever." Um, so anyway, I don't know if I have many other thoughts other than that, but there's a book that I really want to read that I think some people think is problematic, but I'm really excited to get my hands on it one day. It's like an actual banned book.
Protocols of the
Um, it's not that one. It's called The Managerial Revolution by James Burnham, and he
I've
just
heard of
writes
this.
about how basically like the crisis of capitalism is that so many people become managers, and like if you're just managing capital and not creating capital, or like utilizing your labor, then that's a sign of decline, essentially. And so I don't know, I haven't read the book. I just have it saved, and I'm excited to read it one day. But it's like expensive. You can't get it
Yeah.
for very cheap. So
I feel that like it's
one day.
it's
Oh no,
we're not
never
talking
mind. I
about
can get
money
it
right
for
now, but I do.
$13.49 on Amazon. Look at that. I was looking on the wrong websites. I'm gonna buy it right
Nice.
now. Yes. Anyway, I don't have much else to say on that.
I don't have anything to say either.
It's a good topic. Tell people where they can support us.
Hey, if you thought this episode was worth a cup of coffee, you can buy us a cup of coffee by giving us $10 a month on Patreon. That's about a cup of coffee per episode. And as a thank you, we will give you about 40 bonus episodes not available anywhere else, including our 8-part episode virtual pilgrimage to the Holy Land, which is
Yes.
almost done releasing. So
Yes.
you should join now and catch the last one live.
Boom. I'm really excited. I love you guys. It was a good podcast. Patrick, I'm excited to talk to you again tomorrow morning. I'm excited to go to sleep. It's been a long day. I'm excited for the Labor Day weekend. I'm gonna take a nap, maybe. I'm
going to a barbecue.
That's pretty cool, man. Yeah, we need a break. We've been doing a lot. So we got to reset, recalibrate, recalcify, recombobulate.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna take a break.
Oh, Patrick, you're not gonna
keep working.
You're not gonna keep work. You can't keep working over the weekend. Patrick, you're lying to me.
Not gonna do it.
You're lying. Why do you feel the need to constantly work? It's pathological.
I don't know. It's just I don't know.
Promise me that you'll have
it's nice.
A block of 4 hours where you won't work.
That sounds nice.
Yeah. Promise me.
Do I have to be awake?
Yes.
Dang it. Yes.
Spend 4 hours with your family, coward.
I'll go to the barbecue. I do spend time with my family.
I know you do.
But they sleep.
And I eat. I earn bread and I eat it. Ooh. Anyway, we're gonna see you guys on Wednesday. Thanks for coming to the podcast. Patrick, do you have anything else for the people?
Thanks, guys. Tune in next week when I go back to my old middle school wearing a backpack with a Gadsden flag on.
Thank you all for listening. Please pray for us, and we will be praying for you. We'll see you next week.